I really enjoy when you guys send me videos, especially when they are good ones. The best way to do so is probably over on my Twitter. I think it's always linked down in the description. But this one I found fascinating because I actually have never heard someone talk about this subject, and I'm very curious what they have to say about it. So this is Stone Mountain 64. I don't know if we've watched him on the channel before, but I've definitely watched him. And this video is called Call of Duty Blackout: What Went Wrong? Now, he is coming from a perspective of someone who played a lot of Battlefield, a lot of Call of Duty, a lot of Warzone and those style games. I don't know if he's into like Escape from Tarkov or what he's into now, but it'll be an interesting perspective. And then I can kind of provide you my opinion because I know a lot about like the development of the game and what's gone on behind the scenes. So I might have a little bit more insight than he did, or he might have way more than me, but we'll find out.
World's first AAA Battle Royale.
Well,
Warzone's older and more insane brother. It's celebrating its 7th birthday this year, and it seems to have been all but forgotten by the community. Most only even remembering Warzone if you talk about Battle Royales and Call of Duty in the same sentence. But what's the story behind Blackout? Where did it go?
Well, the problem was it wasn't free to play. Like, let's just start with that. If he doesn't mention that, then that's the biggest issue.
Wrong. Is it a misunderstood classic, or is it merely a prototype for the bigger beast that is Warzone? Join me as I create the most comprehensive retrospective on Call of Duty's underrated Battle Royale.
It probably, like, legitimately is probably the deepest retrospective on this, hence why I wanted to see it. That's a cool cutscene.
The year's 2018. Fortnite and PUBG have taken the world by storm, and as a result, Battle Royales are now the new meta. Because of this, while developing Black Ops 4, Activision and Treyarch actually made the decision to forego a single-player campaign altogether.
Apparently, it wasn't great. Apparently, they did have one, but it wasn't great.
And instead create a new Battle Royale mode. This was revealed to the audience in a trailer posted in September of
apparently made in 8 months, by the way.
2018. Being a big Battle Royale player at the time, I even got my first invite ever to a Call of Duty event, being there at the venue when they announced it live. And the response was insanely positive. The COD fan base is quite known for quickly voicing their disapproval when shown a concept or gameplay element that doesn't quite align with the view of this franchise. Just look at Modern Warfare 3 and Infinite Warfare's trailer, how many dislikes they received, and let alone all the comments. Infinite Warfare, 4 million dislikes.
That's one of the wildest numbers out of any
was absolutely not
Call of Duty
the
thing
case,
ever.
with many fans excited about the idea of a Battle Royale in Call of Duty, and I think others even outside of COD were just interested to see such a big company going after Battle Royales here. Many excitedly.
I think you also have to like take a step back and realize how big Fortnite was at the time. So I think it's kind of disingenuous to say, okay, it was the first AAA Battle Royale, because like Epic Games is a big company, and like, come on, like Fortnite's huge at this point.
Claiming that this mode would even displace Fortnite and PUBG. It could take over as the top Battle Royale game. And it's not just something new that Call of Duty does reusing assets. In fact, especially for this, people were extremely excited that they were bringing back some of the all-time classic maps
Nuketown
from
that he's
Call of
on
Duty
right there
inside of their Battle Royale massive map, with certain locations resembling Nuketown, Array, Cargo, and many other iconic maps.
This makes me want to play this.
In addition to this, zombies could spawn into certain locations on the map, such as Graveyard, Asylum, or Lighthouse. Again, adding a much beloved aspect of the franchise to this mode in order to draw in the more hardcore COD player fans and introduce them to a Battle Royale. It's something that's quite different from the fast, quick action, die and respawn that you're now having to experience a much more hardcore feel, which they do have in a sense with things like Search and Destroy, but this is on a whole nother level, not just a quick round. Games lasting 20 minutes. Another interesting new aspect to the Blackout mode was the introduction of a perk system, one that you find in-game. This was a new addition to the Battle Royale genre really as a whole. Fortnite.
So yeah, so there was perks you could find on the ground and you could pop them and they would only last a certain amount of time. And some of them were very, very strong.
PUBG focused on
I forgot about
weapon
that.
attachments rather than giving perks and abilities to players. You can kind of consider Fortnite with building has its own ability set, and
True.
they have added a lot of things in more recent years. But this gave you a whole new way to make plays. In Blackout, players could temporarily mute their footsteps with dead silence, move faster while crouching, over a dozen perks that you would find scattered across the map. The official trailer for Blackout, overwhelmingly positive. Look at that likes ratio. Literally one of the top comments saying, I haven't seen a ratio this good in Call of Duty for a long time. Fortnite quoted even saying, mission failed. We'll get him next time. People coming back to Call of Duty. I haven't been this excited for COD in years. Many.
The hype was there. The hype was there. He is right.
Notable names even within Call of Duty hyped. Can't wait for the beta. Nadeshot. We're back in business, boys. This is quite a change to the ever so familiar Call of Duty formula, which had changed into...
So that's the thing, right? Is Call of Duty has this thing, the way that the gameplay feels, that I think is really unmatched by any first-person shooter. And it's the reason why I say I would like Call of Duty to do something different. I would like them to do a extraction shooter, kind of like DMZ, or I would personally like a looter shooter more akin to Destiny. Just their games feel so good that if they can do this in a way that's Call of Duty, but in another style of game that's not just like PvP, multiplayer, 6v6, or Battle Royale, I think they should go for it. They clearly did well with Warzone, even though people say it's failing. They made a ton of money off of it. So maybe it's time.
In terms of gameplay within the modes, adding jetpacks and boots going off the ground, which were actually part of the return for Black Ops 4 as well. Also introducing the ballistic system to the game where you had to now account for lead and drop with your weapons rather than just hit scan. They were making so many good changes with Black Ops 4. And when this game actually finally came out, the Blackout mode was very popular with most fans. Many, even to this day, still declaring it the highlight mode from what
I mean, this is the nostalgia coming in. There was a lot of complaints about it.
Was a very massive game as a whole. While of course some fans lamented that Black Ops 4 didn't have a campaign, many felt that this mode was an improvement over even having a campaign. You could spend way more hours in this than you could playing through one time of a story, especially as some of the recent campaigns were considered inferior to the earlier installments that had come out. Many also preferred it to PUBG or Fortnite, as Blackout was much more tactical than Fortnite and faster paced than PUBG. Still having to run around, pick up attachments for your weapons, left up to some of the RNG and that feel
that
good
vehicle
when you
was
get
damn
that big
fast.
sniper, while also having the traditional hit markers and snappy gunplay mechanics.
So I think the big thing here that I haven't heard him mention yet is that Blackout was more of a battle royale where looting was incredibly important. Right? Like, not only did you have to loot your weapon, you then had to loot your attachment for it. So if you wanted a scope, you had to find that too. So it made your life feel more important because you couldn't just go to a loadout and grab the gun with all of the attachments on it. You had to find all of that.
And while there's
plus
a lot
the gear,
more people
plus
that
perks
are just sick of battle royales these days, even back then, not everybody was on board. Many saying that this is the most boring mode they've ever put in.
It was slow.
Run around endlessly looking for weapons attachments, then blammo, you get shot from seems like nowhere and repeat the process again. To which most would probably say, that's a skill issue. But battle royales were very difficult games. And if you never get over the hump of them to get that first win and understand what it's all about, then yeah, that's probably a common feeling. Others saying, this Blackout mode is just what I wanted PUBG to even be. And especially since PUBG on console took years to come out, when it eventually did was not really that smooth. Well, I didn't play it on console. You guys can tell me. I think overall this was way more popular and exciting, especially off of that launch.
It was, yeah, it definitely
Black
was.
Ops 4 also had zombies. Between zombies and Blackout, this game offers a stupid amount of content. No regrets buying this game for $60, which we'll come back to. The wingsuit mechanics, probably one of the best things about the whole game. Not only for the initial infill, but being able to jump off of buildings and quickly traverse the map. Bullet drop and leading. It's something new to Call of Duty, it seems. Which
Yes,
it
that was the first year that it had that.
There are some that are actually phenomenal, while others that are useless. People also complaining about the servers, the awful lag, which I think is just undeniable, but also the sweats that I think is increased so much more in a game like this. And with a long duration map, especially something like solos, this is going to have a higher skill gap and it's going to be much harder to actually get a win. However, one complaint that a lot of fans seem to have about this mode was that the time to kill was considered too high, especially if a player is wearing a level 3 armor. Although some people push back against that, saying that this is a battle royale.
That's actually the one thing that made this battle royale compared to Warzone playable solo, because there was a longer time to kill. If you got caught out in the open, you were still in trouble, because that's like the thing that Fortnite has. You get caught out in the open, you build, right? Call of Duty, you couldn't do that. So the fact that there was a longer time to kill at least gave you a chance. Maybe you could grappling hook. Maybe there was something you could do, throw a nade, concuss them. But yeah, when you had level 3 armor, you could soak up a little bit of damage.
It needs to have a longer time to kill, otherwise it would just be over way too quickly, and the tactics would only revolve around getting the drop on somebody or just literally camping to win if you can never turn on them and outskill them. I think the discussion was
Looting
a result
was like the
of
worst
battle royale
part.
games only just coming to the mainstream
Like,
at
you
this
see that
point,
backpack?
though. And
Imagine
many
doing that on a
COD players
controller.
not really used to this genre and taking the time to really adapt to it, because you have to. I came from different games and into PUBG, which I still think has a relatively quick
Ooh,
time
nice
to kill.
shot.
I had to reframe the way that I played battle royales so much. And in COD, where you also have hardcore, which is really in a lot of ways even easier because the health pools are so low.
I miss this game, just Black Ops 4 as a whole.
Outside of, just landing a quick headshot, whatever, but being able to control a spray and stay on target for a longer...
You know what Call of Duty needs? Call of Duty needs to take a risk. They need to get outside of this crap that they're doing every single year, where it's Black Ops or Modern Warfare, and take a risk with a new game with new mechanics. And if it flops, it flops. Guess what? Modern Warfare 4 is going to sell gangbusters. So try something. At least take a risk. That's what Call of Duty needs.
Period of time, especially if you're going up against level 3 armor, or they got a trauma kit to extend their health pool even higher. Like, it was a complaint. Armor shouldn't even be part of this game, full stop. You can hit a dude 11 times before they die. It's ridiculous for a fast-paced battle royale game. You might get hate, but I completely agree. I wanted a Call of Duty type fast-paced battle royale.
Well, you're gonna get one.
A Halo type shooter where they have shields, right? Level 3 is way too strong. The damage reduction should be the same as level 2, but instead an extra helmet reduces the headshot damage. That was the only way to protect you from a one-shot headshot from certain snipers. But level 3 giving you that helmet. Similar as well to how PUBG works. The difference of no armor versus armor is insane. Add to the time to kill, you can't win a fight against somebody with level 3 armor, even if you catch them off guard. And I think the hardest thing with that is when it's completely luck-based. However, those level 3 armors mainly came out of the care package drops. So you getting a vehicle and risking your game to go to the care package.
Healing too. You had to heal yourself.
What protected you. So despite facing some criticism that divided a few players, Blackout seems to have been a pretty well-received success. Very popular with most fans, right? Well, here's where things start to go downhill for Blackout. One of the biggest problems with Blackout was that it was an extra mode to a much larger game. Meaning that if you wanted to jump on the Blackout mode, you'd still have to pay around $60 for Black Ops 4 in its entirety with all the other modes and features. Compare this to Fortnite, which was completely free, one of the reasons it blew up so big, and PUBG, which at the time of Blackout's release was around $30, half of the price of Black Ops 4, and fully dedicated to being a battle royale. But of course, not everybody had a PC to play that. This meant that any fans of the battle royale genre that typically don't play COD, they didn't have much of an incentive to really try Blackout, as it would mean spending a lot of money on a game with many features and modes that might not appeal to the average BR fan. You're paying a whole lot extra for something that you're probably never going to actually experience or play, especially if you don't like Call of Duty to start with. Another issue that resulted in less appeal for Blackout was the lack of special events for it. There were a few notable events, being a map.
This is a bigger problem than ever with Warzone, but I'll come back to this. I'll let him explain this, but
map expansion, a couple of new weapons, the addition of an ARAV vehicle, as well as a few quality of life changes, such as the ability to repair your armor. A brand new and much smaller map was also added to Blackout, which I will take a deeper look into later. That was kind of it. No new updates, weapons, or...
Compare the amount of map changes that Blackout had in a year to the amount that yours extends had. And then tell me that there wasn't enough done to it. Because yours extend has had nothing. I mean, we got Superstore and then that got taken away. But like... nothing. Like nothing.
Or any kind of changes after this. Compare that to Fortnite, which during the time that Black Ops 4 was the most recent COD game, released a total of 8 events, including a virtual Marshmallow concert, crossovers with Borderlands and DC Comics, a holiday event featuring challenges and prizes, and even featuring a giant monster fighting a robot.
So cool.
And it's worth mentioning that besides some of the paid cosmetic-only changes, all of these events were completely free for Fortnite players to engage with. With all of these free ongoing events in Blackout's direct competitor, plus Treyarch ceasing support for Blackout in April, it's not difficult to see why many fans either switched over to Fortnite or never bothered with Blackout in the first place. And I think one of the real nails in the coffin and why they stopped even trying was the introduction of Apex Legends, coming out of absolutely nowhere.
Go on.
Full AAA developed battle royale game that is free to play gave them really then zero incentive to try and make this a true competitor. They've got the next Call of Duty to work on creating. The writing, it's on the wall. Yeah, it's pretty much over. Because the extra hard thing with battle royale.
Well, so there's one other thing here. Like there's a huge other thing that they're missing in this, and that is the fact that once the next Call of Duty game came out, this was gone because this was a part of Black Ops 4. So this game, Blackout, had a 1-year life cycle to begin with. Once Modern Warfare came out, it was over for this, even without Warzone. Maybe people would have gone back to it, but you know.
Is that you also need a lot of players, even if it isn't 150. And without even having crossplay in this game, I can tell you firsthand that PC lobbies were 100% dead. You could not even get enough players to start a game. It started by taking 5-10 minutes to even get a game to start until you could not even get one to start no matter how long you waited. And it wasn't even these outside forces that were having pressure on Treyarch in why they halted their support for Blackout. Despite initially planning to continue and support this mode alongside Black Ops 4 in general, they were forced to abandon it due to unforeseen circumstances. A planned 2020 Call of Duty game, which eventually became Black Ops Cold War, was initially being developed by Sledgehammer Games and Raven Software. However,
I forgot about this. He's right there. Is that this game was originally supposed to be a Sledgehammer game called Call of Duty Cold War, I think, and they adopted the Black Ops universe into it.
Two alleged disagreements between Raven and Sledgehammer.
Yeah.
Treyarch was called upon by Activision to replace Sledgehammer and assist Raven with the development. This, of course, resulted in Treyarch having to relinquish their plans for Blackout, leaving the game to be frozen in time where it's at now. And it's a huge shame, because had this mode continued to be supported and grown in popularity and evolved over the years, as even Warzone had, eventually even became its own standalone game, similar to what Warzone is, I think there was a lot of promise.
See, there is and there isn't. The gameplay as a whole, I agree with, but the problem is it would never happen because, like I said, it wasn't a standalone game. So to have it go standalone, I don't ever see I don't see that ever taking place in any universe in any timeline. The stars didn't align for that. It was a $60 battle royale if you just wanted to play that.
That I think in many ways, this felt even more core to what Call of Duty is for many players. And speaking of which, fun fact, Blackout was originally going to be called Warzone. And some of Black Ops 4's base files actually still refer to it as such. Perhaps that's why it'll come as no surprise that Warzone took and developed many ideas from Blackout, such as
painful.
Fixing the armor repair system. As we've seen, many Blackout players disliked how armor worked, with players who found the level 3 armor having a huge advantage over everybody else. Instead, Warzone used an armor plating system, with each player being able to carry up to 8 plates eventually. The contract system, while Blackout had many side objectives that had to be completed, such as following loot drops, killing zombies, you could open up secret boxes. Warzone took this a step further by adding player contracts, which, when completed, would allow you to get cash that you could use at then buy stations. Expanding on vehicles, Warzone made many additions to returning vehicles from Blackout, like giving the cargo truck a machine gun even for part of it, or making the helicopter quieter in order to make more tactical plays like chopping people up. A lot more nimble, crazy to control. They even went as far as re-adding the Blackout map, Alcatraz, a map that was originally added in April of 2019 to Black Ops 4 Blackout, which was much smaller in size, had a respawn system, and of course was the actual prison, Alcatraz, that was also used for a zombies map. This map was reintroduced into Warzone, of course under the name of Rebirth Island, intended to recapture that chaotic feel that Alcatraz gave Blackout, but taking it again multiple steps further, introducing this really new and improved resurgence mode amongst so much more. However, having access to the same map in both games only further highlighted some of their major differences. One of the main ones in regards to movement. Blackout featuring the Black Ops 4 style of movement system, which mainly revolved around slide canceling movement, a popular system that let players turn corners without getting headshot, and also allowing players to recover with unpredictable movements, especially if another player got the drop on them. You could even jump out of it. Heck, they had grappling hooks to launch yourself in the air and combine with it. Warzone, however, used a more realistic and grounded movement system.
So here's what it is, though, right? And here's why I think Warzone would always be more successful than Blackout, and it's simple. That's it. It's simple, right? It removed looting attachments. It removed looting perks that you would have to use at certain times. It simplified everything down in a similar way that Fortnite simplifies everything down. Like, actually think about it. Fortnite is simple. You pick up the weapons that you want to use. The rarity of the weapon is designated by color. You don't even have to create a class in Fortnite. It is so easy to just pick up, go, and play. Call of Duty now at this point, like specifically Warzone, is no longer that. There's so many weapons and there's so many attachments. It's no longer just pick up and play.
You couldn't shoot while sliding.
But it was.
Although they did have a slide mechanic. They did have slide canceling even. However, that was mainly used to keep your sprint time up and traverse larger areas. And as a whole, was slower than what Blackout was. A lot of fans praising it for being more balanced in many ways. Something that they've even continually shifted away from and changed going on into the future years, even within Warzone since its initial launch. But those who enjoyed the original Blackout map will be pleased to know that it did eventually make a return. But instead of on Warzone, it was on COD Mobile. Yep. COD Mobile also saw the return of some of the Blackout perks, including Skulker, which lets you sprint while crouching, Flak Jacket, which reduced explosive damage, and some of the stuff that you would expect from a Call of Duty if you played it enough at this point.
Sorry,
but
brain didn't work for a second there.
And Mobile expanding on Blackout, it seemed that many fans actually still preferred Blackout and would rather have that revived than continue to play Warzone.
At this
many
point,
reasons
for sure.
for this are preferring the more arcadey feel that Blackout had, as well as having just no loadouts, a better map, and more.
See, that's the problem with Warzone, is they're never going to be able to get rid of loadouts now. Like, they've tried by making it so that you have to wait longer in the game to get them and things like that to make it feel more looty. But the way that the game is designed, the microtransactions are designed around it. Everything's designed around loadouts, and they can't have it without that. And I think that is why people are so nostalgic about Blackout specifically, is because they don't have that.
Or satisfying gunplay. This still being a massive complaint of the game. I like that the loadout crates did not exist in Blackout, which makes everybody on a level playing field. If I don't play Warzone for a couple of months, I'd be severely crippled if I don't have all the attachments for the FAR, MAC-10, or whatever the ridiculous new meta for the game is. You have to keep up with the meta on Warzone by going in, buying the game, buying the cosmetic blueprint that had the attachments to instantly get the weapon unlocked, if you don't want to go in and grind for multiple hours to unlock said weapon and then be able to compete with everybody that is grinding the game. While it was still luck if you found the right item inside of Blackout, everybody was on a level playing field. Everybody would have the same chance of getting all of those weapons and attachments outside of your knowledge and skill within the game for where loot spawns and being more brave to go after the packages that might airdrop out of the sky. Warzone is the bigger, newer, prettier, flashier toy that it caught everybody's eye because it was free, had crossplay, and happened to release at the beginning of the lockdown pandemic.
Also, it looked more realistic, which now with all the bundles and stuff,
the scarcity of each weapon type meant that every squad naturally ended up with a range of strengths and weaknesses. Exactly. Blackout was a true drop anywhere and survive with what you find. It forced people to genuinely get good. A huge point noted, I liked how you could play and unlock characters from the Black Ops modes as well, and this was something I actually totally forgot about. There was like challenges and even little Easter eggs as you're playing and looting that would allow you to unlock characters in the game. You didn't even have to go in and purchase the packs to get different characters, and then those skins you saw people in were far more special and a bragging right if you had that.
Some of them were hard.
I think a lot of that they could do because it was a game you actually had to buy, and selling skins on top of that would be ridiculous. Could you imagine?
Like some of the things were like RNG based, where you had to go to an area on the map, find a specific item, and then win a game in a specific way. Like imagine how great it would be if Call of Duty did that. Also, I think Call of Duty needs to relook how they do their battle pass and everything like that, with like the challenges that like Marvel Rivals has and things like that. Like maybe take a step back and look at how they could improve what they're doing.
Imagine them doing that in a modern setting. I actually felt very similarly at the initial launch of Warzone. I thought I would hate loadouts as a whole, coming from so many of these games that were RNG, survive with what you can. By far, one of the coolest aspects of your traditional battle royales that have continually gotten further away from what a battle royale is, especially even in Warzone now with the amount of ways that you can buy yourself back. Multiple gulag tokens, redeploy flares, portable buy stations to buy more and more cash. Even just the resurgence mode as a whole has been stepped up to where you're constantly coming back. Free respawns, you don't even need to buy your teammate until that crazy end game. And I do think that is something that Warzone has a powerful hold on, is that satisfying end game that at least I always want more of, but it does take away some of that magic of a traditional battle royale that Blackout was. And personally, I do think it would have been incredible to see Blackout get the proper updates that it really needed in the support, but it was just way too held back by everything we've discussed. I do think the best thing would be to create a Blackout 2.0 to take the lessons from both of these games.
Like I said, the way to do it is shadow drop it. I've said this before. You in Warzone, you turn the servers off one day, you literally black it out. And then you have something slowly get brighter. Like if you run the app, it slowly gets brighter in the background saying Blackout 2 and then a date underneath it. And there is no Warzone anymore. It's just gone. They'll never do it because of microtransactions, but it would be dope as hell.
And really create a definitive battle royale experience. Even if it's a combination where you have the Blackout style, go in and loot everything. You don't need to look up, get your loadout, get your meta, but Warzone could keep its place, allowing you to build off of that as well. I think the reality is they couldn't pull it off. We see Warzone even struggling with the weapon implementation, the cosmetic implementation, the characters over all of these games that keep releasing year after year, the introduction of so many bugs and issues with each of these releases as they're trying to merge all of these different games, even trying to get DMZ in there with Warzone 2, Modern Warfare Zombies, and mix everything together, and it's just not quite fitting where I think a lot of
I don't even see someone who's
battle royale players would enjoy a dedicated mode just for them, a dedicated game that doesn't necessarily have to have all of these other things jammed into it and rearranged. Something that PUBG has managed to maintain itself over such a long time in its core identity. Fortnite has maintained its core identity in many ways while still being able to add so many different aspects onto that game, from the custom games to survival, that I think Warzone hasn't quite been able to capture to the same degree, and Blackout, of course, never had the chance. So there you go, a look back at Call of Duty Blackout and why it died. But what do you think? Did you ever get the chance to play this in its glory? How has it compared to Warzone for you and even other Battle Royale games? Are Battle Royales just done for? Or should it be remade? Should Blackout 2 really become a thing? Let me know what you guys.
Like I said, I think it should be shadow dropped and almost run in tandem with Warzone. So when you have a Black Ops year, you have Blackout. When you have a Modern Warfare year, you have Warzone, and they switch in between each other. And you could do it in a way that was really, but it's too late. Like it's too late at this point, because now they are so caught up. They've screwed themselves. And I think I need to make a video about this at some point, because they have screwed themselves in such a huge way when you actually think about it, because they have made it so that now all of these weapons need to carry forward. The blueprints need to carry over. The skins need to carry over. And if they don't, people are going to be mad about that and then not play the game. And then if things keep bloating, people are going to stop playing the game because it's so bloated and the barrier to entry is so damn high. So what's the correct answer? There is none. They screwed themselves. And yeah, Blackout was a ton of fun. And the real answer is what happened to it. It wasn't free to play. That is it.